So, you won't believe the massive scene that is unfolding right before our eyes involving one of the most powerful men in Nigeria's recent history, Abubakar Malami. We are talking about a situation that looks like a script from a high-budget Nollywood movie, but this is real life and it involves billions of naira, a private jet, and a welcome celebration that has left many Nigerians scratching their heads in absolute confusion. The headline you saw is not just clickbait, it is the tip of an iceberg that we are going to melt down right now. We are looking at the former Attorney-General of the Federation, a man who once held the power of life and death over legal matters in this country, now walking free, at least for now, after a staggering 1.5 billion naira bill was granted to him, his wife, and his son. Yes, you heard that right, it is a family affair. The court in Abuja has been buzzing with activity, and the details coming out of the Federal High Court are enough to make your jaw drop. Justice Emeka Maiti, the judge presiding over this historic case, admitted Malami, his wife Nana Hadiza, and his son Abubakar Abdulaziz to bail in the sum of 500 million naira each. When you do the math, that brings the total bail bond for the Malami family to a whopping 1.5 billion naira. It's a figure that most people can't even imagine, yet here we are discussing it as the price of temporary freedom for a public servant who is facing serious allegations of money laundering and financial mismanagement. But before we dive deeper into the nitty-gritty of the charges and the private jet drama, let me paint a picture of what led us here. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, has been on Malami's trail for months, culminating in a dramatic series of events in late 2025 that saw the former Minister of Justice detained, interrogated, and eventually arraigned. The charges are heavy. We are talking about a 16-count charge bordering on money laundering, abuse of office, and the dissipation of public funds. The EFCC is alleging that Malami and his family members were involved in moving massive sums of money, about 8.7 billion naira, funds that they claim are proceeds of unlawful activities. These are not small accusations. These are allegations that strike at the very heart of public trust in Nigeria. And it gets even more interesting when you look at the assets involved. The court has already ordered the interim forfeiture of 57 properties linked to Malami. 57! We are not talking about a few plots of land in the bush. These are luxury estates, hotels, schools, and malls scattered across Abuja, Kano, and Kebbi State. The list reads like a real estate brochure for the ultra-wealthy, including a luxury duplex in Maitama worth billions and a hotel in Gaki. The EFCC believes these properties were acquired with money that belongs to the Nigerian people, and they are fighting tooth and nail to get it back. Now, imagine the scene after the bail was granted. The headline speaks of a heroic welcome and a private jet arrival. This is where the story touches a nerve for many Nigerians. After weeks in detention, first in EFCC custody and then at the KUJE Correctional Center, Malami finally met the bail conditions. The conditions were tough, mind you. The judge insisted that the sureties must be owners of landed properties in highbrow areas like Maitama, Asokoro, or Gwarimpa, and they must submit their titles for verification. Malami also had to drop his international passport, meaning he can't jet out of the country to Dubai or London whenever he likes. But once those papers were signed and the bond was posted, he was free to go. And this is where the spectacle begins. Reports indicate a return to his home state of Kebbi that was nothing short of a political rally. You would think a national hero had returned from winning the World Cup. Supporters were jubilating, crowds were gathering, and the atmosphere was electric. It raises a very deep and troubling question about our society. Why do we roll out the red carpet for leaders who are standing trial for allegedly stealing our commonwealth? It's a paradox that has baffled social commentators for years. Here is a man accused of diverting billions, yet he is welcomed back with drums and dancing. Is it loyalty? Is it politics? Or is it a sign that the common man has lost faith in the definition of justice? As we analyze this, it's crucial to understand that Malami is not just any politician. He was the chief law officer of the Federation for 8 years under the Buhari administration. He was the one telling us about the fight against corruption, the one overseeing the recovery of the Abacha loot, the one who had the final say on prosecution. To see him now in the dock, flanked by his own wife and son, is a twist of fate that Shakespeare himself would appreciate. The inclusion of his family in the charges adds a layer of personal tragedy and high stakes to the whole affair. The EFCC claims that his wife and son were not just innocent bystanders, but active participants in the alleged money laundering schemes, using their names and companies to hide the money trail. This is what led to the combined bail of 1.5 billion naira. It's a family trial, a family burden, and potentially a family downfall. The pressure in that courtroom must have been immense. You could almost cut the tension with a knife as the lawyers argued back and forth. Malami's lawyer, the formidable Joseph Daudu, a senior advocate of Nigeria, fought hard to get them out, arguing that they were innocent until proven guilty and that Malami's health required him to be out of custody. The EFCC, on the other hand, argued that they were flight risks and could interfere with witnesses. In the end, the judge sided with the defense but slapped that heavy 1.5 billion naira price tag on their freedom. I know you're enjoying this gist because it's hot and it affects every one of us. So please, if you're finding this breakdown insightful, do me a huge favor and smash that like button right now. It helps more people see this story and understand what is happening in our country. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. Click that subscribe button so you don't miss the next update on this case, because trust me, this is just the beginning. Now, back to the heroic welcome. This narrative of a triumphant return is something Malami's camp has been pushing. They claim that his ordeal is a political witch hunt, a calculated attempt by enemies in the current administration to humiliate him and dismantle his political structure in Kebbi. Malami has openly stated that he is being targeted, and his supporters believe him. They see the EFCC's actions not as justice but persecution. This is why you see the crowds. In their eyes, he is a victim of a power play. The private jet arrival fits perfectly into this narrative of defiance. It sends a message: I am still standing, I am still powerful, you cannot break me. But the optics are terrible for the anti-corruption war. When a man accused of stealing billions flies in a private jet to a hero's welcome, it mocks the struggle of the average Nigerian who can barely afford fuel or a bag of rice. It suggests that if you steal enough, you become a hero, not a villain. It reinforces the idea that there are two Nigerias, one for the rich and powerful who get bail and private jets, and another for the poor who rot in jail for stealing a goat. The details of the properties forfeited are also worth a closer look. We're talking about hotels in Benin Kebbi, plazas in Abuja, and vast hectares of land. The court documents list them one by one, and the value is eye-watering. The EFCC says these assets were acquired during his time in office, and they are asking the simple question: how? How does a public servant, even a high-ranking one, amass such wealth on a government salary? Malami has denied all wrongdoing, of course. He maintains that he has legitimate businesses and that the EFCC is inflating the figures and fabricating the narrative. But the court saw enough evidence to order an interim forfeiture, which means the government takes control of them until the case is decided. This is a standard procedure in high-profile corruption cases, but the scale here is unprecedented. It's not just one house, it's a real estate empire. There's also a subplot here involving the DSS. Reports have surfaced that even after the bail was granted, there were fears that the Department of State Service might rearrest him on fresh charges or for security reasons. This has happened before in Nigeria, the revolving door of arrest, bail, and rearrest. Malami's lawyers raised the alarm, crying out that there was a plot to keep him behind bars indefinitely. This adds another layer of anxiety to the story. Is the government trying to silence him, or is the rot so deep that new crimes are being discovered every day? The interplay between the EFCC, the DSS, and the courts is a complex dance of power, and Malami is currently in the middle of the dance floor. We must also talk about the timeline. This case didn't just pop up in January 2026. It has been brewing throughout late 2025. In December, we saw the initial invitations, the grilling sessions at the EFCC headquarters, and the eventual detention. Malami missed the end-of-year festivities with his family because he was in custody. That alone is a significant fall from grace. For a man who was once the face of the law, spending the holidays in a cell must have been a humbling experience. But now that he's out on bail, the real battle begins. The trial is set to resume in February, and it promises to be the legal showdown of the decade. Witnesses will be called, documents will be tendered, and secrets will be revealed. We might hear names of other high-profile individuals involved. We might learn about how decisions were made in the previous administration. This case has the potential to open a can of worms that will stain the reputations of many people who think they are safe. The reaction from the public has been mixed. Social media is on fire. On X, formerly Twitter, and Facebook, Nigerians are divided. Some are angry, demanding that he be returned to prison and that the trial be televised. They want to see justice served and the money returned to the treasury. Others, mostly from his political base, are defending him, using hashtags to call for his freedom and claiming that he is the best thing to happen to Kebbi State. It's a classic case of tribal and political sentiments clouding the facts. But facts are stubborn things. The 16 charges are written in black and white. The 57 properties are physical structures you can touch and see. The 1.5 billion naira bail bond is a documented court order. These are not rumors. These are the realities of the case. As we watch this unfold, we have to ask ourselves what this means for the future of accountability in Nigeria. If Malami is convicted, it will be a massive victory for the rule of law. It will show that no one is above the law, not even the Attorney-General of the Federation. But if the case collapses or if it drags on for years until everyone forgets, it will be another blow to our collective hope for a corruption-free nation.